Welcome to Coach the Coach, an experience that helps coaches and business executives unlock their leadership potential. Your host, Coach Clark, will sit down with successful athletes, coaches, and entrepreneurs to tap into their knowledge, their lessons learned, and their best practices to lead those around you.
Of course, when it comes to newspapers or getting your name out there in the public, do you think that's political, or do you think it's kind of a bias that people have against your program? What do you think that attributes to?
Well, my local newspaper, they told me that, we're just not a Long Island school. Okay, but I see you covering Albany. They're not a Long Island school. But, in my mentality, why? Because they're a Division I school?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. If it's a Division I school, but I also see you listing the Long Island players on there and saying what town they're from.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing that for us? We have, like I said, we have over 40 players on Long Island.
Did you ask them about that?
It's been a battle. My assistant coaches are doing trying to do their best, to get our name out there as well. Where they're connected. But that's it's a battle that I think we'll eventually get through. I mean, I was writing some of our post game, I guess press releases or whatever, and sending it to the newspaper. I'm like, okay, you guys don't even have to write it. I'll write it. Just put it in the Sunday paper. And I'm still waiting.
They're still not doing it. See, man, that's like, I can't imagine. So for me, it sucks. Like, I coach at a high school level. I was really looking forward to this season. We're not on paper, of course, one of the more successful high school programs, right? But in terms of building a culture and where we were headed, I was super excited for this season. I couldn't have had more fun going into it. And when it started, how it was going, it was perfect. But taking that up a notch now, let's go to the collegiate level where you're at. You just won a championship. Your momentum and how you're talking about all this, I mean, it's going like full train ahead. And then it's like movie-like, dude. Like, this is stuff people make movies about, is the season that you had and how you did it. But I just can't imagine what you're feeling when it got cut short with the whole pandemic and how that, I mean, really, like, they put a wall in front of you. Like, how to...
Yeah. So, one of our things, before everything happened, one of the things I say is, don't be complacent, don't be content. Right? Yeah. Okay. We won one, but twice is nice.
Yeah.
Repeat is nice. So, because I know, just by I guess natural habit, it's easy to get that way. Like last year, we're the hunters, and now we're the hunted, and we got to do whatever it takes to stay on top of the mountain. And that was our message going into this year. But leading to what you're talking about, our last game was against Vassar College, and before the game started, the coach from Vassar called me and said, "Hey, this is going to be our senior day." And at the time, I'm like, "Yeah, you really think this is that serious?" And you get wrapped up in the coaching world, and you're not really sure, like, you're not watching the news or whatever it is, And I kept thinking, I'm like, is it that serious? And some of the players were talking about it, like, hey, coach, do you think school's going to close and all that stuff? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I don't know. And but whatever happens, we'll be ready for it. And so we played the game against Vassar, and they totally beat us up. And they played like it was their last game, okay? And that's one of the lessons, that I've learned is, like, you say it like, hey, play every game like it's your last. Like, they really did it, okay? And, and I could say that I'm guilty of taking that expression for granted. But moving forward, I'm definitely not taking it for granted anymore.
That's like, it's so true when you say that, because I had that conversation with the team before we were done. It was our last practice. I was sitting down and we were doing our regiment. Like every other day we were having post-practice yoga where they just got to relax. One of the team moms, she came in, was like a legitimate yoga instructor, gave them a full on like yoga class. And then they just like meditated post that. And then after that, I had a speech with them. I'm just like, dude, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but here's the reality of it. And I mean, the biggest thing is like the biggest life lesson that I've learned that like, I mean, it's so true just from this is that like live every day like it's your last, play every game. It's like it's your last. Cause the kids, when they messaged me and the seniors about the whole situation, dude, they were crushed and they didn't like no one in years could have thought this would happen.
Right.
So you nailed it on the head, man. Like it's a huge wake up call having the pandemic.
You know, and you know, even after the game, the talk started to grow a little bit because, you know, that's when Ivy League said that they're canceling the tournament and sports and all that stuff. And, you know, I remember leaving off saying, hey, you know what, I'm meeting with the athletic director tomorrow and, you know, we'll go from there. And going up to practice, you know, we practiced at 7:00 at night and still haven't really heard anything except that the conference was going to vote. And the option was, all right, let's postpone the season till the end of March and let's see what happens. They would tell me on a Friday and we're on a Thursday. And after talking to the coaching staff, one of the coaches had a great idea. I'm like, hey, if this is it, let's just play. You know, let the seniors play with every class. You know, first quarter, let the seniors play with the freshmen. Next quarter, let the seniors play with the sophomores. Next quarter, you know, let seniors play with the juniors and so on, you know. And, you know, it totally went with it. You know, it was great idea. And it turned out to be one of, I don't know if bittersweet is the word, but, you know, it turned out to be, for myself, to the great practices that we've had there. Because you really got to see guys just let loose, you know, with everything that was going on with school. And, you know, they just played. They just had so much fun. And, you know, guys who are short stick midfielders, they're running out with a long pole and just having fun, or, you know, defenders playing attack and, you know, just having fun. And, you know, just like as you were a kid, you know, just messing around and having fun. And, you know, at the end of practice, you know, when it was over, I started getting the feeling that it was over. You know, seeing how the patterns and trends, and I was getting text messages from coaches. And I was looking at my phone to see what updates were got. And, you know, I was getting updates from coach, hey, you know, we're done. You know, our season's over. So I'm like, oh, no. You know, this is what we're trending towards. And, you know, when we were addressing the team, you know, I said, hey, if this is it, man, you know, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. But if it's not, then we'll be ready for our next game.
Yeah.
You know, let's just keep it positive and, you know, make sure we control what we can control. And, you know, if this is out of our hands, then we'll deal with it however we can. You know, you started seeing that the seniors started to think that it was over. And, you know, I remember like I was closing the lights. I was walking around the field and, you know, it was like, you know, is there anything else I could say to these guys? Am I missing anything? And, you know, I even for myself, I got pretty emotional about it. And then I didn't walk past the locker room because I didn't want the guys to see me because I was like still pretty emotional. So I took the floor, you know, and then guys were coming up to me like, coach, like a lot of people are really upset and they're crying that this is it. And it's like, all right, you know what? We're all on the same boat here. You know, it's just another one of those things. Hey, like, you know, as far as like team concepts or, you know, no matter what it is, good, bad, positive, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I reached out to guys to, you know, our senior leaders. Hey, let's just try and keep this as positive as we can. They did a good job of that. But, you know, as we all know, like everyone else in college sports and professional sports, they got cut short.
Yeah. So what do you think was the most, like, what brought out the emotions in you? I mean, really that made it that emotional for you? Because I'll say for me, I mean, it sucked. Like it sucked, but I'm also kind of at that point though in my head where, I mean, in the grand scheme of things of like everything going on, I mean, people dying, you're in a hotbed right now for that stuff. Like in the grand scheme of things, them canceling sports is such kind of like a small thing. However, if you, like you said, you want to put yourself in their shoes back when you're 18, 21, I mean, back to high school, like this is all they know. Like they don't know a world outside of this. So like to think for those seniors, like it sucks and I feel for them. And that's what made me, I mean, really feel for, because I'm just thinking back, if I'm in their shoes, like how much it meant for me. So what was going on in your head that, I mean, really made it that much more emotional for you?
This is what's great about coaching. You don't have time to think of what you're going to tell the guys.
No.
Like you just got to shoot from the hip, man. And and when we were at our huddle, honestly, walking into the huddle, it's like, what am I going to say? Like, make sure don't say the wrong thing. And like I didn't have anything to say, but I just shot from the hip, man. Was just looking like like what you said, just looking at our seniors, and I just started thinking about the time that they put into this program and how far they've come, and we're on our way to have another great season and to have something taken away from them that's out of their hands is it's tough to swallow. But you know what? I really hope everyone on our roster realizes, like, that when the next opportunity we get, let's make the most of it. And I know our guys the guys who are coming back, and we have some seniors coming back. They're going to be ready to go.
So what did you say to them? Like, do you remember what you said to them in that last practice?
I was pretty emotional about it. Again, like, I saw some of the seniors and started thinking about their time and thinking about how much time I put in, thinking about how much time the assistant coaches put in. I just knew I had to tell them that I love them all, and I appreciate them. And a lot of the guys, after I told them I love them, they told me they love me back. So that was good. So thank you, guys. And my positive spin on it, I remember, like, the last thing, I sucked up the tears and told them, if this thing isn't canceled, be ready to beat up Coast Guard and be ready to beat up Montclair. But we'll just have to wait next year.
Yeah. So with the seniors coming back, what is that process going to look like for them?
So when I address the seniors, obviously at Division III level, you don't go to school to play lacrosse, and specifically what I talked about earlier about jobs and making money and all that stuff. I told them, like, hey, this is what you came to college for: graduate, go to work, make an impact in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Please, I encourage you to do that, but knowing what you know, that you are going to get a job at some point and you're going to be making some pretty good money down the road. And if you feel that your athletic career is unfulfilled because of what happened, then you should come back and possibly think about going to grad school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I know as a competitor, some people will probably think, like, I can't go out my senior year like that. Or some guys are thinking, like, I'm done with school, which is totally fine. I get it. Again, you're there to graduate and get a great job and make your impact.
Yeah.
So we got 3 as of right now. We got 3 of our 9 seniors coming back. So
that's awesome.
Which is great.
Are they the impact seniors? Of course, I think every player plays a role, but were they 3 starters?
Oh, yeah, 3 impact players.
That's awesome.
So we're happy. And you know what? I know one of their roles going into next year is they're going to help bridge, not gap, but make sure that, help our legacy and, our culture remains intact. Because when you look at the program as a whole, specifically the freshmen, they only got a little taste of what our team is. So with these seniors and the juniors that are coming back, they could really show what this program is all about and get the full experience.
I mean, that's going to be phenomenal for you to kind of get them back into your program, because imagining that they're coming back, that also says a lot about you. I'd imagine, like, if you get none, it's like, okay, well, they want to move on. But the fact that you're able to get 3 out of 9, I mean, you do statistics there, 33%, that's a win, man, just for you as a leader. and as a coach. And it brings up a good question really that I wanted to ask you, especially at a Division III college. It's not Division I. Like you said, they're not going there for for lacrosse specifically. A lot of people typically aren't. I know I did. I was stupid. I didn't know any better. But what did you do to motivate them? Like what were your things that you did to motivate them, make them want to come back to practice every single day, like, and make them want to come back? I mean, 3 of them come back again for another year where they're going back to school. It's like, I feel like there's something that you can teach other people when it comes to motivating.
It was just like the conversation that we had is just a simple conversation like that. And, one of our captains that are coming back, it's like, Coach, I was going to be there for a 5th year anyway. I'm going to grad school, so I was going to be there either one way or another. Whether if he was out of eligibility, he was going to, possibly help us on the coaching side. But, because he's going to be there for grad school. And our other guy, he really feels unfulfilled and doesn't want to end his senior year that way. So he's looking to go into, the grad program and, commute every day, to practice and, be committed to the program and to make sure that, he ends it the right way.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is I think it's self-motivation, because, who am I to tell them, hey, like, how do I come off and say, like, I want them back, but you have to pay for school?
Yeah.
But like, I guess maybe that's a selfish part of me, because I don't want them to leave, because they're all such great kids.
Yeah.
But, again, you don't come to a Division III school to play lacrosse, for the next level. But, with them thinking about higher education also, well, I'll rewind that. With them coming back and to think about higher education kind of also shows the maturity that they have.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, like, I get it. Like, some people are content with, their undergrad degree, and sometimes that's all you need. But, for me, I just got my master's this during the season, and, that's something I thought I would never do.
Congrats, man. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah, we're having a virtual graduation with my family on Saturday.
Virtual Lechon and Lumpia.
You're already there. To like, knowing what I like, again, this goes back to me trying to relate to the age group, knowing what I needed to go back to school. I knew I needed to be motivated. Because if I wasn't motivated to go back to grad school, then I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
So to see them motivated to get a higher education is pretty.
So I think that plays a good role and a big role, but a lot of it has to be cultural too, in the sense of the culture you've built there at Maritime. Because if you don't like where you're at, you're not going to go back. I mean, you can get your master's anywhere.
Yes.
If you don't enjoy what you're doing, you don't enjoy the sport itself, like, why would I go back to that program? So for like a small example for myself, one thing that I've tried to do is I let the seniors design the gear. I'm like, listen, you're the ones that's going to be wearing this. I was like,
right.
You're going to be sporting this stuff. I was like, I want you to look good, feel good. So if you want to design whatever you want to design, you shoot me the design and I send it to the designers. And that's one thing I've noticed that's kind of received more buy-in from them. So what are things that you kind of implemented since you took over that you feel has left a pretty lasting impact on them to want to be there, want to be a part of the program, but more importantly, like, want to do what you tell them to do because it's going to be best for the team?
I think one of the things I take pride on for me and the players is that I'm known to be a player's coach. One of the things that, with my office, my door is always open, policy. It's kind of symbolism, because literally my door is always open when I'm there. And it's tough for me to get work done because all these kids are in and out and whatnot, and they want to talk about their day and talk about their teachers or their girlfriends or, you know, their parent, you know, whatever it is, you know. So I end up just, you know, basically, you know, being their older brother.
Yeah.
You know, and, I appreciate it because I don't, you know, I have 2 sisters. I don't have any brothers, so I look at them as all my younger brothers. So, you know, that's kind of like the strong bond that I've built with them. And one of the things that I tell them is that the fact that, you know, going back to the point of how I started in this thing was coming to coach a sport every day for free, you know, and you think about loyalty, right? And I think that these guys are thinking probably, you know, hey, you know, this program was loyal to us. Let's be loyal back to them. You know, and I see that with a lot of our guys, you know, and you know, a lot of the messages that I get from you know, from the players, like, you know, a lot of, you know, when the season ended, like, you know, thank you for everything, and, you know, thank you, even with our alums, you know, thank you for being loyal to the program, thank you for staying, and, you know, and you know, keeping the standards high and then the expectations high, and you know. Again, I mean, that goes back to, you know, the culture, because, you know, this is what the guys wanted. So it's like, okay, this is what you want, then let's go do it. Let's deliver. You know, one of our fall meetings, you know, we did it. We were asking questions to the upperclassmen, like, hey, what's your team goal for the season? And if you were like a lacrosse expert in this world, and you saw some of these answers where it said Final Four, national championship, they would laugh at us. So in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? If teams keep sleeping on us like they did last year, they're going to know about us. And, you know, that's why the season's kind of upsetting the way it ended, because, you know, we were ready to make our run and we were ready to show Division III what we're all about. You know, it's really, really exciting stuff, man. You know, and you know, and you know, one of the things going into the next year, you know, and these 3 seniors, you know, after talking to them, it's like, you know, we're kind of back to unfinished business.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, like, I love the way that you're saying, man, like the big brother thing, because a lot of people I've noticed when it comes to the coaching industry, they feel like they're in this position of power. It's like, you need to listen to me because, like, I'm boss. All right. And I think it's a good perspective for people to hear that from you. And that, I mean, really, you're not there to, like, run their life.
Yep.
And having those conversations, I think you having that, I'd imagine, played just those little conversations about their day, plays a massive impact of just being there for them and showing you care.
You know, because, you know, I like, for the coaches out there, I think a lot, you know, to your point, I think what gets lost is the human element, right? Like what my assistant coach preaches, hey, that's someone's kid. You know, like, treat them like, you know, they're like, you know, it's like it's one of your kids. Do the right thing. Or, you know, in my case, you know, little brother, big brother. You know, so I show them the tough love and, you know, whatnot. And, you know, I play basketball with them, and, you know, they make fun of me and whatnot, and, you know, whatever. And, you know, which is, you know, long story, but, you know, well, like, sounds like it's been very beneficial. And to be honest with you, I, like, you know, it just works, you know, at this school, because, you know, again, going back to how some of our, or if not all our players can't leave during the week, all they got is me to talk to, you know, and I appreciate that. You know, that's why I do these things with them and just talk to them as, you know, as an approachable coach.
So when you took over, because I'd imagine the last thing that people really expect is that human element. When you go into coaching, like, oh, I'm coaching, especially newer coaches, when they get into the business, it's like, I'm coaching, I want to coach a winning team, but they get lost with that human element. A lot of what you're saying and how to make that interaction, I mean, really last. And there's a lot of things that people that fall through the cracks when it comes to coaching. I mean, simple things like logistics and everything that pulls you to the left and then pulls you over here to the right, that you're never thinking about. What are some things that you got into, or I should say that blindsided by, that kind of made your first year coaching a collegiate level program that, I mean, other people would have never imagined being an issue or even making it that much more difficult?
From the outside looking in, when you see a 15-4 record in a championship your first year, I mean, you're going to think that, hey, everything ran smooth. And, I think, my biggest challenge was making sure that everyone was focused and committed to our goal. My last year as an assistant, we lost in overtime in the semifinals in the conference. And that stayed with me up until last season, and that was kind of like the wood in my fire, specifically like the way that group of seniors went out losing in overtime. And I really wanted to do it, for them and, the program as a whole. I knew as a head coach, just making sure everyone stays focused. When we have our coaches meeting, last year to start, both assistants coaches told me, look, you're only going to do 10% X's and O's. You're going to be doing 90% of the off the field stuff. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, okay. There's no way. And then as the season progressed, I'm like, oh my God, I barely do X's and O's anymore. I see myself talking to the kids, and off the field and making sure that their heads are right and making sure they're wired right and making sure they're staying committed to, for our season. That's one of the things I can tell, coaches out there, like, you got to have a great staff, trust what they're doing, making sure that we're, all the coaches are aligned to, the X's and O's stuff or the cult, whatever you're all about, and then go from there. Because, our assistant coaches are great with the X's and O's, and that was one of the shocks after the end of the year, to really see how much X's and O's, coming from the assistant. As an assistant, I was doing a lot of X's and O's, and we were having some success as when I was an assistant. But to going from one extreme to another, yeah, that was a little bit challenging, but not as bad as I thought it'd be. Because I don't know, I guess. Not stubborn person.
Yeah.
And, because I know there are a lot of coaches out there who always want to get their hands in everything and, tell their assistants what to do and, this and that. It's kind of like not really the opposite. Like the coaches tell me, hey, we think this fits our personnel. Let's run this system. Okay, let's see it. And if it sucks, then we'll try something else.
Yeah.
Move on. Okay. Like, that's just the way we operate.
I mean, so that's great that you that you brought that up, because a lot of people they get stuck in their ways, man. They get stuck in what they were taught when they grew up through the sport, or whatever it is that they're going through, and then they fail to adapt. And I'd imagine that played a massive role in your guys' success, is your ability to kind of do and then accept whether it's good or bad and move on and adapt. Would you consider that one of your biggest successes or contributors to success for your guys' season last year? Or would you say that there's something else that you'd put above that?
I'm going to rewind a little bit about where I learned this whole, that reaffirmed what my assistant coaches were telling me about the 90% off the field and 10% X's and O's. I learned it was confirmed by our head coach for Philippines, Coach Pt.2. Head guy, set himself up with great assistants. Great, them, great guys.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Yeah.
They knew their X's and O's and they executed it. And Coach V was at the end of practice would be the figurehead guy and making sure that they're all our players, heads were on straight. Because I did have some kind of what you kind of said of coaches are stuck in their ways and making sure that their presence are felt.
Yeah.
And I have no ego. I never have, never will. And actually, that is something I do pride myself on. And like I have players tell me, coach, this one sucked. This drill sucked. Okay, all right, fine. We'll try something else if it sucked. If you think it's, then I'll watch the film to see what they're talking about. I'm like, okay, maybe Brian was right. Maybe it did suck. We'll try something else. And that's something like I get. For the coaches out there, don't have an ego, man. Especially at the college level, you're talking to a young adult, so he kind of has some knowledge, and you should show some respect that he knows when he talks what that person is talking about, because that's kind of like, I wouldn't say mind game. Well, maybe it is a mind game, right? Like if we show each other mutual respect and we could have a normal conversation, like the human element that I'm talking about, it's going to carry on off the field, and honestly, that's a pretty big accomplishment in itself, because I see the way some of our guys talk and they don't realize it. Like, we're all speaking the same language. It's like, okay, now we're all on the same page and they don't even realize it.
It's interesting you say we're all speaking the same language, because that's one thing that I found. That's one of the biggest eye openers, really, when it comes to the coaching aspect, is that not many people are doing things too much different. It's like we're all essentially trying to do the same thing, but it's a matter of how well can you get this group of young men, young women, whatever it is that you're at, like, to follow what you're saying. Because like you were saying, you didn't realize how little of X's and O's it was going to be. And a lot of people, they get caught up in like strategizing, like, oh, how am I going to like get over on this team with what they're doing? While that there is that point, it's like, you can have the best plan in the world, but if nobody's going to listen to you, it's the worst damn plan out there. So the fact that you brought up the 10% X's and O's, the human element, I think the balance that you have to find, especially at the Division III level, is huge.
That's you're right. That was a challenge to find for myself as a coach. Like, again, I was talking to my captain today. Like, hey, I'm all about fun and games. Like, like I actually talked about this recently about my first Chick-fil-A experience with you, 2014 in Denver. Like, guys like actually like to hear about it, because they always heard that, like, that I camped out for the free meals and all that stuff. And, I think they actually like kind of seeing that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, you know what, coach actually is a fun type of guy and he does cool stuff. And, it's something, I guess, that's maybe relatable in a way.
Yeah.
If they saw coaches that are like straight as an arrow, very regimented, it's like, I don't know if they could really relate to that person, to that coach right now. I don't think that's where coaching is trending right now. However, if I was at a liberal arts school, I would probably be a little more regimented.
Yeah.
And I say that because when you're at liberal arts school or, whatever private college, they don't have that discipline that's being taught at our school.
Yeah.
So in some ways, the coach at these schools have to teach that discipline and commitment and staying focused, during the season, whether from the school or, or practice or at games. And, it's a different challenge at, those coaches have.
Yeah. And you said trending, right? And the way coaching's trending, the way we talked about, I mean, really the culture change and the shift from where you were, where I was in school, and then where they're at now. Where do you see it trending, and what do you see being the massive shifts in coaching and how to coach?
So, like, as far like, when I learn about coaches or look into other coaches out there, I looked at what Pete Carroll was doing. And I always thought he had an interesting path because, he was a head coach, fired as a head coach, then demoted all the way down to a defensive backs coach. Then he's back to defensive coordinator, fired. Okay. So he's been around, kind of like, I guess, kind of my journey, I guess, And then, when he finally took over at USC, I remember, reading about like, this guy's kind of been around. I don't think he's really for our program type of thing. And, and then when they started winning, okay, like, I don't know, this is how much of a coaching junkie I am. I was watching film when he was like coaching Reggie Bush and to see how he would react to, to certain things. Like, he let his players play, man. And that's one thing I learned from coaches now, like, which I think it's trending towards. Like, you can't micromanage these kids. Let them play and let's see what happens. And if it sucks, then we'll correct accordingly. If it worked and it wasn't part of the plan, you say, all right, great, glad it worked.
Yeah.
But like, if it wasn't part of the plan, like, it worked for now, but it may not work down the road, but you find yourself as a coach, to find a happy medium with that. Yeah. Like, guys, going back to the trends, like, you see more player type coaches, back, I guess 80s and 90s, where you see regimental type guys,
yeah,
as head coaches. Like, it kind of worked then. And, another coach that I actually really looked up to was Tom Coughlin. I'm a big fan. I've read one of his books, and one of his preseason rituals is watch Patton before the season start. And which tells me he's really into the regimental lifestyle, and and wants his players like that and treat them as troops, or whatever it is. And if you followed his path, he was on his way out. Because players weren't reacting well to it. And all it took was for a captain to, Michael Strahan, and go up to him and say, Coach, you kind of have to see, the softer side of you. Like, this goes back to the human element.
Yeah.
If players see their coach in a human element, they're like, what? This coach is a pretty good dude. I want to play for him. As small as this is, going back to the Tom Coughlin thing, they realized that this coach was one of them, was when he was eating In-N-Out burger on the side of the bus. And they all got a great laugh at it. And and that's something, that they took and busted his chops about. So again, this kind of like a little small tidbit, someone's always watching and observing you.
Yeah.
So he probably had no idea that people were watching him and realizing, like, wow, Coach is a human. He's not a jerk. Like, he's scarfing down an In-N-Out burger like the rest of us.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me to hear from that side of you, of course, talking about seeing this coach as a human, because when I think of professional sports, right, it blows my mind. And that's also one of those things where I think there's kind of this gap, this curiosity gap that I have that I'm not sure other coaches have, right? And it's like, how do you get this top tier athlete, right, to follow you? And then, like, at some point, it's like someone is always putting somebody on a pedestal. And even the best of the best players in the world playing football, they're putting this dude up on a pedestal like he's like a robot. So it's just, I feel like that's something that people overlook, is that it's kind of the paradigm and the way these players are looking at life and looking at you as a leader, and how they see you and how you see you. So what do you think for you is something that you had no idea that you're perceiving yourself as to these players, if that makes sense in a question?
So you're asking what do I think the players perceive me as?
That you had no idea. I mean, I feel like that's something that you don't take the time to sit back and think, like, okay, I know what I want to get across and the message I want to get across. But the players are like, Coach, what the hell are you saying right now? Like, what are you doing? This makes no sense. And you're like, wow, I had no idea that this is how you saw me.
So that's an interesting question, because, I'll give I've actually talked about this with other coaches, and it's kind of like going the way that the players are trending and thinking these days. So I got into I really went after one of our best offensive threats about having to, step his game up and, get engaged in the game. And, I'm giving you the PG version.
Oh, dude, you give me whatever version you want.
No, I'm giving you the PG version. And, a couple days later, some players are like, Coach, do you hate this kid? Like, I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, you kind of went at him. I'm like, no, I love the kid, but like, is that what you guys really think? And actually, yeah, like that's what it's kind of trending because, like, like when I used to play and I saw my coach, really, getting at it with the best player, I think, oh, okay, this guy's serious, Whereas now it's like, I think this coach hates him. Like I really firmly believe that the best players want to be coached hard, pushed, right?
Yeah.
And I hope that perception of me is starting to trending with our team. Because I've had like the people that came up to me and asked me that if I hate this kid or I had a kind of like I explained to them where I was coming from. Like, simple. When I see someone is capable of more, yeah, I'm probably gonna get at you a little bit. And that's what players now have to realize. I mean, it still was a thing, back for forever, but now it's like that's what I see trending.
So essentially, what you're saying is trying to relay the message to players that you've got to adapt your coaching style, like to individuals. Like you can't just blanket coach everybody the same way, and now that gets kind of lost in translation.